Mr. Smyth?
Millions of people around the world answer to the name Smyth. This is one possible story of how the name Smyth came to be.
Hungry.
It takes us back to medieval England, to a hungry boy, a blacksmith, and a piece of bread. And perhaps one of your own ancestors had a story much like this one.
Mother?
Dead.
Where do you sleep? Come on. Come on!
The blacksmith gave Thomas more than a meal. He gave him work. At first, the boy swept the floor, carried water, fed the fire, and watched. Then he learned to hold the tongs, judge the color of hot iron, and bring the hammer down where it mattered. Seasons passed. The hungry boy grew taller and stronger, until the forge was no longer simply the place that had taken him in. It had become his trade and the life he knew.
Not your arm, your shoulder. Wrong! Again! Again!
As Thomas grew older, the lessons became less frequent. He no longer needed the old smith beside him for every task. The forge had become familiar. The heat, the weight of the hammer, the moment when iron was ready to take shape. More and more of the work was now his own. Eventually, the old smith decided it was time to see what Thomas could do without help. He gave him a piece of work and simply watched. Thomas worked it from beginning to end, relying on everything he had learned. When it was finished, the old man examined it carefully.
It'll do. For a first attempt. I have no son. No one, really.
You have me.
That's what I mean. When I'm gone, the forge is yours. The house too, the tools, what little money there is.
You're not going anywhere.
We both know better. Be a smith, Thomas. A better one than me.
When the old master died, Thomas was no longer the hungry boy at his door. The forge was his now, and each morning he lit the fire himself. His work became the way people distinguished him from other men, and over time that distinction outlived the reason behind it.
Thomas! Thomas the Smith!
Eventually it became a surname, perhaps even a surname like yours. Thomas was one smith, but he wasn't the only one. Elsewhere in England, other smiths came to be called Smith without sharing Thomas's family. They weren't necessarily relatives, they were simply men doing the same work in different places. Beyond England, that same trade left other names behind. Schmidt in Germany, Fevre in France, Smed in Scandinavia. The word changed with the language and the culture, but the human story behind it remained much the same. Years passed, and Thomas built a life beyond the forge. He married, raised children, and in time those children were raising families of their own, carrying the name Smith with them. Years became decades, until Smith was no longer just Thomas's name, but the family's.
Wool pays better than horseshoes. Only if the sheep survive winter.
Your grandfather would have thrown both of you out for talking business at supper.
By then, no one at the table was a Smith, and yet every one of them still carried the name. The trade had disappeared from the family, but the name had stayed. After enough generations, it no longer felt like something that had once begun. It felt as though it had always been there. People were born with it, lived with it, and died with it, until eventually it became easy to imagine that this was simply how things had always been and always would be.
Your distant relative, Mr. Jeremiah Smith, named you in his will. The inheritance passes to you if you take the name Smith.
William Carter.
Edward Carter had just become Edward Smyth, but that was only half the story. Nearly 2 centuries earlier, the name had moved in the opposite direction within the same family. A Smyth had become a Carter. The family itself had not disappeared. It had simply continued under another name.
You missed the R.
Henry Carter.
The Carters lived ordinary lives for nearly 200 years, marrying, raising children, burying parents, and simply going about the daily business of being a family. The family line continued, but the surname Smyth did not. By the time Edward sat in that office, Smyth had been absent from his family line for generations. A forge gave Thomas the name Smith. Nearly 2 centuries later, a will brought that same name back into the family. Human lives have a way of weaving together across generations in intricate, unpredictable patterns. A German Schmidt could cross the Atlantic under the name he had always carried, and at Ellis Island, the record could still read Schmidt. Sometimes a name was translated in a record, while at other times a family chose to change it themselves. Migration could change the name without changing the people behind it.
Name?
Schmidt. Nein. Write it in English. Smith. I think it will be better for them.
And Smith is only one example, because your name carries a story of its own, and it may be very different from the story you've always known. So how can you trace your own family, find the people who came before you, and discover where your own story began? Not every family kept the documents that could lead you there, and even when those records once existed, they didn't always survive. That's where genealogy comes in, because it asks you to work almost in the opposite direction from family legend. You start with you, then move backward, one generation, one person, one document at a time. A surname can tell you where to begin looking, but it cannot promise what you'll find. But isn't it worth trying? Because your name isn't the answer, it's a clue. Follow that clue far enough, and with a little luck, something remarkable may happen. Out of all that darkness and distance, a person begins to appear. Not a surname or a branch on a family tree, but a real person who once lived. That life, its choices, loves, and losses, eventually became part of the road that led to you. And perhaps, somewhere along that road, you'll find the moment when your name began. Perhaps that's enough to make the whole search worthwhile.
Mr. Thomas Smith?
Mr. Smith?